We'll go to item 11 on page 3, please.
I recommend that the Board of Education approve the attached list of senior students for graduation on June 19th, 2015, as presented by Principal Matthew Barrett. Excuse me, I got ahead of myself. Contingent upon each having satisfactorily completed all school and state requirements that date. All the board has an attachment of all names for graduation.
I'll second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstaining? The ayes have it unanimously. Item 12, please.
I recommend that the Board of Education appoint Bernice Fiorella as legislative representative / liaison for the 2015-2016 school year.
I'll second it.
I believe that was Mr. Gershie seconding the motion. The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments?
Just wanted to thank Doris
Yeah, I would.
for all of the time you've dedicated to that position.
Yeah, and I would have made the same comment. Doris, you've served that office loyally for many years, and we do appreciate everything you've put into it and the information you've brought back to the board. Thank you.
And I could say too, thanks for everybody for being cooperative and making contacts with the legislation department and the legislators, especially the local ones, because some of you have been real good. Called, sent letters, made special appointments to be in contact with them, and I did appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstaining? The ayes have it unanimously. Item 13, do we have a motion, please?
I move that the board approve a real estate tax rebate in the amount of $1,511.79 on property number 26-0-0023-0005 in Sterling Township. The rebate is due to a veteran's tax exemption certification.
I'll second that.
The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstaining? The ayes have it unanimously. Item 14.
I recommend that the Board of Education accept the resignation of Board Member Gary Pudnak from the Board of Education Region 1 effective immediately.
And I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a comment. I'd just like to thank Mr. Putnight for all his years of service here at Western Wayne School District. He did a great job for us, and I wish him the best of luck in whatever his future plans are.
And I would echo that as well. I'd accept this with regret. Certainly, Gary's been a faithful member of this board and put in numerous hours, volunteered many, many hours to this board over the last 15 and a half years. So I do appreciate his efforts. Are there any other questions or comments?
I can just echo that as well. I've worked with him from the time I've been on the board, and he's given everything he can. So.
You probably taught him, didn't you?
I didn't. But I did teach others.
Calling the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstaining? The ayes have it unanimously. Item 15, do we have a motion? At this time, we'll ask for nominations for the position of board treasurer.
I'll make a motion that we accept Bill Gershie as the treasurer.
I'll second.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, Mr. Gershie has been nominated for the position of board treasurer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstaining?
I'll abstain, although I guess I don't have to.
You don't have to. We'll take that as
President
7
Obama
yes.
voted for himself instead of Mitt Romney, so. Look what happened.
The motion passes by a vote of 7 yes and 1 abstention. Item 16, do we have a motion, please?
I recommend that the Board of Education approve the amount of $3,000 for the board treasurer's salary for the 216 school year. And I make that motion knowing what's gonna follow.
Thank you. Do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second the motion.
The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstaining?
Probably should abstain on that one.
The ayes have it by a vote of 7 yes and 1 abstention by Mr. Gershon. Item 17, do we have a motion?
I recommend that the Board of Education approve the public officials treasurer bond at $25,000 for the 2015-2016 school year at an estimated cost of $250.
I'll second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments?
I have a question. Has that cost risen at all during any time?
It's
Or has
been
that
pretty
stayed?
flat for a number of years.
Yeah, for quite a few years. It's probably gone up maybe $25 in the last 10 years. I mean, it's not much of an increase.
We pay that to who?
It goes through our insurance agent, McGovern Insurance. It's through Selective is the bonding company.
It's about, that's where it should be. It's about minimum premium, no matter where you go.
That's the credit. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstaining? The ayes have it unanimously. Item 18, do we have a motion? Mr. Gershie?
Yes, I plan to donate the salary to two groups. One, the Community Library of Lake and Salem Townships, and the Western Wayne Education Foundation. I thought about this in light of the discussion we had the other night, and both of these organizations give directly back to the school. The Education Foundation, all of the money that it has goes directly to activities that Western Wayne students are involved with. And the library has a close relationship with Evergreen especially. Ms. Flisky, you were going to mention, I talked to you earlier, some of the things that the library does.
I'd be happy to. The children grow plants in the Evergreen School, and then the library sell them for their fundraisers, so we work together with them. They do story times with children. They do a puppet show with the students, our second grade students every year. They do our summer reading books. We send them a list of books, and that would be interested, and they post them there and make sure that they have the books for the library. They do tutoring. We have the basket fair for the library at Evergreen. So there's a lot of things that go on. We work very closely with them. They've been wonderful to us.
I'd also like to mention that in past years, until last year, the school board gave a donation in addition. Mr. Frank Ward was the treasurer, and for years he donated the whole salary to the library. And then we would usually donate, I think it was $2,000 more. The board used to also give another donation to the library, and that stopped last year, and we're not doing it this year. So this is sort of a compensatory, in a sense. They're not making out as well as they did, but at least they're something. So I move that the salary be donated to those two agencies as described.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments?
I think it's a great investment. Thursday, speaking with the director of the Salem Public Library, she very much conveyed how drastic the cuts were to the library system, not only here in Wayne County, but through the entirety of the Commonwealth. And I mean, they are running on about $90,000 a year budget, so any little bit of a donation, Mr. Gershon, I thank you, and I appreciate that on behalf of that
I can
library.
echo that as well. I was on that library board for 8 years. I think, as I said on Thursday, I was the secretary for about 7 of them, which is not, I think I it was worth doing. But anyway, yeah, they certainly do a lot of good things, and
This is a big help.
yeah.
Thank you.
I got a question, and forgive me if I misunderstood you. Did you give us a breakdown of how much you were donating to
Half.
each? Just
Half,
50/50?
50/50.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstaining? The ayes have it unanimously. Item 19, page 4, do we have a motion?
I recommend that the Board of Education approve the exoneration of the municipal tax collectors from the collection of the 2014 duplicates.
I'll second it.
The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstaining? The ayes have it unanimously. Item 20, please.
I recommend that the Board of Education appoint the following elected tax collectors to serve the district for the 2015 budget as listed.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments?
My comment, as usual, is this board has nothing to do with these tax collectors serving. They're elected officials.
Are there any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstaining? The ayes have it unanimously. Item 21, do we have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education adopt the 2015-2016 fiscal year tentative budget showing estimated available resources of $42,213,716 and estimated expenditures and ending fund balance in the amount of $42,213,716, establishing real estate tax millage of 16.311, with a 2% discount if the whole amount of the tax is paid within 2 months after the date of the tax notice. Payment at face if the tax is paid within 2 months following the end of the discount period. Penalty of 10% on all taxes not paid within 4 months after the date of the tax notice per attachment.
I'll second the motion. The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments?
Can we do a roll call?
I have a couple comments.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lindell?
This is essentially a procedural vote. It has no bearing on the final budget. If we don't vote yes to this tonight, we'll meet again before the end of the month and vote on it again. But it has no bearing on the final budget. Frankly, I don't even understand why we have to do it, but we have to do it. The state says we do it. It's easier to do it than the final. So,
Yeah, and again, Mr. Lindell, you're exactly right. And this is a work in progress at this point. We've, as you know, we've been working on this budget for quite some time. We've had several meetings over the last month. We had a presentation of the narrative budget. We've gone from a 5.64% increase down to a 3.17% increase. We're going in the right direction. And again, as Ms. Emmett collects the information from the state and gets some final numbers on some of our expenses, you know, we'll get a closer number to what reality is. At this point, it appears that we would not have to go for both exceptions that we had intended to. So this is a big impact on the increase that we were going to see. You know, we did have the presentation. No one has contacted Ms. Emmett with thoughts or concerns, so I appreciate what you're saying. And again, this is not the final budget. This is where we are at this point in the process, and we will continue to get this down to where it belongs. So, thank you.
I just have something to add.
Sure.
The 3.17% increase is the equivalent to $50 on $100,000 of assessment. So we just throwing that number out there. $100,000 assessment on a property would be about a $50 increase. So
Exactly.
that's where we're at right now.
Exactly. So for each 100,000 of assessment on your property, you can calculate what the increase would be. So, and that's a good general number, and again, as we get closer to the final budget, we'll know exactly
Just
what.
one other thing too, and I harp on this all the time, but Harrisburg won't have their budget in place in time for us really to make a change. We're hoping for that. We keep our fingers crossed. It looks like it's going to be July or August. By law, we have to have our budget in place by July 1st, by June 30th. A little bit earlier, Rose, to get the information to Harrisburg. But Harrisburg does what they want to do. They're a poor example of legislative leaders in the state of Pennsylvania. I always believe that we should vote them out, but we always turn around because they're friends of ours locally, and they get back in, and it's the same thing over and over again. Funding continues to be cut, even though when they campaign, they're all about education. But you can't be about education and cut us the way they did the last 3-4 years. And maybe we can do a better job also. But we try, we do try. We try to get the academic area. It's our best shot. AP courses came along several years ago when Dr. Leco got involved, and we're all for that too. But some of us are all for sports along with education because of what sports, the band, all that other stuff the FBLA brings to the table in education for our children. And but anyway, I just wanted to let you hear me out. And believe me, Harrisburg is the problem. And it's a major problem. So if you know anybody in office, ask them to help us out with our funding this year, and not wait till next year, not wait till August, because it affects us in a major way.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Stuart.
Are there any other questions or comments?
I have a question for Ms. Emmett. The narrative budget that we presented a few weeks ago, we had 41 million in expenditures. Can you just explain how we got to 42.2?
It's expenditures and ending fund balance. You have to add the numbers together.
Okay.
So if you look at the form that it's in your packet, you'll see the breakout, and you'll see that number that we talked about at the budget presentation, and then you see the fund balance. It's usually the fund balance numbers on the last page, and add those two together, and it comes up to that 42. That's just the way the reading is for the PDE forms that have to get submitted.
With the 3.1% tax increase, that covers the lack of the hole that we haven't made up, correct?
Yeah, it's just under $100,000 shy. So it did use fund balance to balance that at this point, not being finalized.
How much did we take out of fund balance?
About less than 100,000.
Less than
Yeah.
100?
Yeah.
And the last thing, did we see an increase in funding in 14-15 compared to 13-14? Because I know we're expecting currently, if the budget were, the care package were to come through, that we would see an increase in 15-16, which we probably will not see. But have we seen an increase this school year?
The only thing that increased was, we had previously had an accountability block grant, which amounted to about 107,000. That did go up to 192 during 14-15, and they changed the name of it from accountability block to ready to learn. And that did increase a little. That was the only funding source that really increased in 14-15.
So,
Other than their obligation at 50% of the PSERS, that went up based on our expenses, but that's not really a grant, that's subsidy.
what was the dollar amount that we saw in the increase then? Was 70,000, 80,000?
For that
funding?
grant that I talked about? Yeah, it was 80-some thousand.
So we saw an increase.
Yeah. That was the only place where we did see an increase that I can recall offhand.
Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote on this, if we could. Ms. Emmett?
Yep. Mr. Hollister?
Yes.
Mr. Olsemer?
Yes.
Mr. Gershi?
Yes.
Mrs. Fiorella?
Yes.
Mr. Cadenzi?
No.
Mr. Lindau?
Yes.
Mr. McDonough?
Yes.
Mrs. Bliss?
Yes.
Motion passes. We have 7 yes, 1 no.
Thank you. Item 22, do we have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education adopt the attached 2015-16 tax resolutions.
I'll second
The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstaining? The ayes have it unanimously. Item 23.
I recommend the Board of Education approve the designation of depositories for the 2015-16 fiscal year as listed. Section 621, Holmesdale National Bank came in at 0.37. Is that not correct, Rose?
0.37.
0.37. And they're going to have the general fund, interest-bearing checking account certificates of deposit. Wayne Bank came in at the second bid of 0.20. They'll have the capital reserve fund account and certificates of deposit. And the NBT Bank, PennStar, they'll have the payroll account, savings account, certificates of deposit, middle school account, all Western Wayne High School accounts, including activities account, athletic account, and national school lunch program account.
Do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second that.
This motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstain? The ayes have it unanimously. Item 24, please.
I recommend that the Board of Education consider the adoption of the following policies on second reading as listed.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no.
No.
Any abstaining? The ayes have it by a vote of 7 yes and 1 no.
I have a question. Did I hear you say no, AJ?
Yes,
On that?
Mrs. Bliss, I did.
Is it on all of them?
Well, just like in the first reading, I had asked, as I made the correction earlier with the minutes, that the school police officer policy be separated. So,
But from this list here for a second reading, are you saying no to every one?
no, as I previously stated in the month of April, I am perfectly fine with those above the school police officer policy. I stand against the school police officer policy because of the recertification with a firearm, and I, again, will reiterate that I had asked for it to be separated, so I vote no.
So you're only saying no to 315?
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Understood, thank you.
Thank you. Item 25, do we have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve a contract between Western Wayne School District and Edmonton at a cost of $31,241.71 for the 2015-16 school year.
I'll second it.
The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments?
Mr. President, Dr. LaCoe, could you touch base on this as you did at the work session?
Sure,
I thought that was,
Yeah, for the past 2 years, we've had a virtual environment. The Western Wayne School District has its virtual learning academy. Prior to us recommending Edmonton, we used another provider at a significantly higher cost. At